How to edit your taps in PractiCAD. There are multiple ways of editing your fittings in PractiCAD, especially when it comes to taps. However, some ways are more preferred than others. Because we don't want to remove a tap off of a fitting so that PractiCAD doesn't know they're connected, editing is very important. Automatics in the system will work from Duckline forward or Duckline backwards quite often. And if a Duckline is broken, meaning if I pull a tap off the Duckline, PractiCAD will not be able to edit as normal. So we're going to teach you in this tutorial, it will be a two-part tutorial, how to edit your taps and how to move and copy your taps without actually separating it from the Duckline. The first thing we need to show you is the tap parameter box. If you actually hit T for tap and attached a tap properly, you will always know, because in the AutoCAD property box, you're going to get tap parameters. And you can see here that there is a lot of them because PractiCAD is representing every value from the in and out joint of the connector, and it's giving you the distance between the side of the boot, the center of the boot, and the heel of the boot, and also doing the same thing for the out connection of the boot. Generally, I don't use any numbers in here to edit with the exception of two. The first one in the list is in, from, in, to, side. And that is actually the distance from the tip of the boot from the in connection. We have here a picture that represents it and a snapshot of the tap parameter box. Notice it says in, from, in to side, 16 inches in this picture. And if you follow the yellow line, it just means the distance from the tip of the duct to the tip of the boot. This is going to control the duct left to right. All of the other values are properties of each other. So you can see here we have in, from, out to side is 24 inches. And if we look at that, that's the distance from the heel to the out joint. If I change one, PractiCAD is going to adjust the other three that control the distance left to right. So all I ever do is just adjust one. Same thing for the up and down. Notice we have here in, from, top to side, 2 inches. And if we look at that, that is just a distance from, and this is the side view here, the top of the boot to the top of the duct. If it's set at 0, the boot tap will be flush with the top. If you take in, from, bottom to side and set it to 0, you can see here the little 6 inches. If it's set to 0, the bottom of the boot will be flush with the bottom of the duct. So if I need to move the boot tap up and down by just a couple inches, I would usually just add that value to in, from, bottom to side. And if I want to move the boot tap over left or right a couple of inches, I would add or subtract that value to in, from, into side. I don't recommend using any more than two, just the ones you're comfortable with. So we're going to go back into PractiCAD here, and we're going to go into the property box. We're going to click on our tap. What we're going to do here is we're going to focus on moving the tap over, which will essentially move the entire duct line over. We have in, from, in to side at 16. If I just want to move the boot tap over 2 inches, all I would do is add 2 inches to 16, make it 18, and you can see when I hit enter, the PractiCAD will shift it over left and right. This is the recommended way for editing. If you edit in the tap parameter box or the AutoCAD property box, you will not separate the tap from the drawing. Once again, here we have in, from, bottom to side. If I go and change it to 0 and hit enter, that's going to put the boot tap at the bottom of the duct. Notice that we have in, from, top to side is set at 8 inches right here. That is the value from the top of the boot to the top of the duct. And PractiCAD in the AutoCAD property box will not allow us to give a value that will separate the duct off the line. For example, if I type in 20 and in, from, top to side, and there's not enough room to do that, and I hit enter, you can see that it goes to 8 on its own because that is the lowest it can go. So by using this window, you will not pull it off the duct line. The other way to change the elevation is to use the elevation box. But if you do that, you could pull the tap off the duct line. For example, here you can see in the elevation box that the tap is at bottom 15 foot. If I came here and gave it 15 foot 6, that will move the tap. And as long as I didn't give it a value that's above the side of the duct I'm trying to attach to, that will still stay attached. We can always see if we've removed a fitting off by using our Duckline check. And there are separate tutorials on the Duckline check, but it's the automatic in your automatic bin right here. And if I click on that, PractiCAD will always highlight the ends of the duct for us. Notice here that it's not putting a red mark between the tap and the rect duct. That means that it's still connected. However, we're going to go back to our Duckline check automatic and we're going to remove those marks. Now what we're going to do is click on the boot tap, and then we're going to come over to the box and give it a value 15 foot 9 and hit enter. Now when we do that, because we've used the elevation box, PractiCAD will still allow you to move that duct line. But as you can see here, if we highlighted this area and then use the Duckline check, we now have a red mark between the boot tap and the duct. That means we've separated the boot tap off the duct line. And if we run an automatic from the main trunk line, right where it goes to the tap, the automatic will stop because the duct line integrity is broken. So if we're going to move fittings up or down, generally recommended to do it from the property box as opposed to doing it from the elevation box. So let's take this a step further. Let's put this in top view. And then we're going to click on the tap and we're going to put the elevation back to 15 foot. Now, we're going to run a Duckline elevation right now. I'm going to highlight, do a Duckline check, and check if the elevation is correct. And it is here. You can see that we have reattached the tap to the duct line by moving it back down in position. Now, if you do pull the tap off the duct line, meaning if you grab this node and pull it away, generally it's very hard to get that back attached. It can be done, but it is more difficult to do. So it's recommended to edit this correctly the first time. For example, let's say we added another fitting on the drawing and we would like to copy this tap over. We're going to remove our Duckline check marks. We can move taps between duct lines, but when we do this, we must be careful not to move the tap off the duct line. For example, I could say, let me click on my tap. I'm actually going to use a selection automatic here that says Duckline forward. I'm going to click on the tap, and you see here that we've got the nodes that are available. You can move this tap over here. However, take a look and notice that I've got my AutoCAD snaps on and the nearest snap is lit. And the nearest snap that's currently lit is actually the top portion of the rectangular duct, because that is the nearest line, which means if I'm holding my fitting by the center node, and when we grab this little blue square, we're holding by the center node. This means that if we snap here and stop and look at this in isometric view, you're going to see that we've snapped the tap to the side of the duct line. And you can see if we run a Duckline check that it's still attached. However, if we don't grab a node and we remove the tap, as we're going to do now, here we're going to grab this node and then we place it on the drawing and then try to move it back as a tap in that fashion, When we go to do duckline check,